Hello and welcome to episode number 23 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're making friends. Again.
All right, so like Jim said, we're making some more friends. Last week on the podcast, we sat down with Kelly. You can find her on Instagram at geekchick.gamer.
Words are hard.
Yeah, words are hard. And that was a great conversation. We had a lot of fun getting to know Kelly, and that was really good conversation. So if you haven't yet, go check out that episode. And today we sit down with another member of the tabletop community, Tim Chuon. He's a photographer in the tabletop industry, and he does some amazing work. And you know what? We're just going to get out of the way, and let's just jump right into the conversation and let you guys know more about Tim. So here you go. All right. So Tim, it is very nice to meet you, sir. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing amazing. I'm trying to stay cool in the really, really hot weather. It's like 90, 95 degrees right now. So
yeah,
we don't have an AC in our house.
We don't worry about that problem here.
Yeah. I was not born for that kind of weather.
No way. My skin was not.
Yeah.
It's never. If it ever gets above 90, I'm like long sleeved,
Right. Umbrella hat going on. Yeah. I get it.
I know. I'm trying to stay cool.
Yeah. So Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself for our audience who doesn't know about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do.
So my name is Tim Chuon. I am a photographer full-time. And then on YouTube, I mostly do like board game tutorials, cinematics. I honestly dabble in a ton of different things. This is just, I rebranded actually because before it was B-roll and board games. So specific to the board game niche. And then I just wanted to talk about cameras, talk about pretty much everything that I'm interested in. So I renamed it to my own name. And here we are.
I feel like a lot of photographers, videographers, especially like on YouTube, tend to more gravitate towards just like doing their name because that I feel like that gives you more freedom to do what you want to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is that kind of what you found or? Kind of
1,000%. Because I was only doing board games before, and I posted once about a backpack, and then I think I got this comment. And it just kind of just stuck to my head till this day. And they're like, "Oh, is this B-roll in backpacks now?" And I was like, I think it is time to change.
I was gonna say honestly, B-roll and board games is a pretty nice name.
It is.
It's a really good one.
It is. The alliteration is just like
B-roll and backpacks.
Yes.
B-roll. That's a good one
again.
too.
Yeah.
Never again.
So Tim, tell us, how long have you been involved in the tabletop and board game space?
It's pretty recent. I would say, I think I started 2019. That was probably my first upload, 2018, 2019, like towards the end of the year. And I started with just doing tutorials because the whole reason why I started this, there was two main reasons. The first reason was I wanted to kind of put my own spin on like elevating board game content. And then the tutorials that I was looking for, like they weren't making them. Like, either Rodney wasn't making them or everyone that we watched, they weren't making those specific videos. And I was like, I want to learn faster. Maybe I'll just make a little library of quick little videos. And then I decided to just post them, see what happens. It just kind of just skyrocketed from there. From I really enjoyed doing it. That's why I kind of just pushed out all types of content from there.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's the key right there of what you just said. You enjoyed it. You went in and you just enjoyed it. You had a lot of fun. And I feel like when I started watching your content, like I don't want to say I am a photographer, but I enjoy photography. I enjoy.
You dabble.
Yeah. I dabble in a lot of things, but I really do enjoy. I do enjoy taking pictures, and I like pretty much anything that I'm usually involved in. I like to take pictures of it and like elevate the visual quality to as best that I can. And so that's kind of how I don't know how specifically I got turned on your content, but when I was looking for, that content that you originally were doing as far as board games and making it more cinematic, and the more photographic, the visual arts, let's say, and it was, and I loved it. Like I really love your takes on all this, and I think it works really, really well. So kudos to you. I love it, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate what you guys do too. I was watching the Villainous playthrough you guys did. I think posted yesterday. And then like your playthroughs are just like so nice. Like it's so refreshing to see, like nicely edited. It was like so natural. Like the gameplay made me want to play Villainous again. And I was like, I just played it like 2 days ago. And I was like, man, I want to play it again. Like this is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Like that's, and so for us, like, you know, we're kind of just wanting to do a lot of different things. Like we've started, you know, our business, let's say, you know, probably a few months ago.
Like
and
March, I believe it was.
yeah.
Around that
And, point. You know, cause we've been together for, we've been together for a few years.
Yeah.
You know, met at our local game store. And then, you know, we kind of wanted to get together and do our own thing. And then I'm like, you know, in the 21st century, you know, and going forward, I feel like a lot of companies now really need to be social media companies or media companies first, right? So for what we want to do, I'm like, you know, what we can do now, you know, we may not have our own space or we may not be able to sell things at the moment, but what we can do is we have the internet. Right. So we can start making content. Right. And so that's just what we started doing. I'm like, dude, let's just play games. And the way that we're doing it, because for us, like we're card gamers, like at heart, that's where we tend to gravitate towards. And for me, like, I don't see, there's a few card gamers tabletop card gamers. Cause you know, nowadays everything's digital. You know, and which is great, but we don't see a lot of.
It's different,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
So we don't see a lot of tabletop card gamers, and like, man, that's kind of where anytime there's a card game on the table, we're like, all right, that's it. That's what we want to play. And so we're just like, you know, let's play some games. Let's start recording them, start posting them. That way we can just start getting some kind of content, and hopefully people enjoy it and they'll start liking it. You know what I mean? So
people will, especially coming from like someone who edits too, and I see all the little details that you put in that takes a lot of work to do, and like I appreciate that. It's awesome.
No, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Like
frames, little sound effects, all those things.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. So going off of that, one video that I believe you recently posted it was, you got 6 content creators together. And kind of gave people some tips. That was an awesome video. Like I enjoyed it. All of those content creators, we actually had a meeting. It was probably a couple of months ago where we listed a bunch of content creators and we're like, what we liked, what we didn't like, if we did it, what we would change to kind of like have our own kind of what we're going to bring to the table from a content creator standpoint.
Right. Market research.
Essentially.
That's essentially what it is.
Right. So when I saw that video, I'm like, dude, this is perfect. So like I watched that video a few times. That was a great video, man.
Thank you.
And so we're actually, I'm wanting to reach out to each of those content creators, right, and get them on the show. Hopefully, I've already been in talks with Our Family Plays Games. They seem like they seem like an amazing.
Man. They seem
family.
so funny.
Oh man.
Oh,
they're the most energetic people I've ever met. They're awesome. I love them.
So what did you kind of take away from that little project? Because I mean, that had to have been a pretty decent sized project to pull something like that off.
Yeah, it took like about half a year. I had the idea for a while, and then I kind of to match everyone's schedules and to record and to grab everyone. Pretty much I went through like their entire channel, each of them, and grabbed different clips for all of them. What would work with different parts of, like, it wasn't a script, but what would work with different parts of their recording.
Right.
And I think the ultimate thing that I got from it was that everyone really specialized in one thing and they niched down so well. I think that's why like all their channels are doing so well. Yeah. And I love that. I love seeing people do what they're really good at. So I think that's the main thing I took away from it too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I feel like anytime I come across somebody on YouTube or just any content creator in general, probably the biggest thing that I feel like they all have in common is just that they niche down very, very well. And they figure out what's that one thing that they're really good at, and they just really go hard on that. Is that kind of what you found? So what it sounds like.
That's what I found with everyone. I am the complete opposite. I try to niche down and I just keep expanding back up. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing that. Like, either way, like wherever it goes from there, I'm just going to let it happen.
Yeah, rolling backpacks.
Yeah, exactly. See? I'm like, you know what? It's fine.
But you know what? I feel like that, and I don't want to say problem because I don't really think it is a problem. It's just something that happens. I just feel, I feel like that's endemic to creative people in general, and especially content creators, is just that you've got a lot of ideas and you've got like a lot of things that you just want to do. And it's like, I just love doing all of these different things, like a creative people and also like an entrepreneur. I feel like that's one thing that a lot of those, types of people have in common. Some people say it's a downfall, which it can be, but it's something that I feel like I found like for me personally, it's like, man, I want to do a lot of different things.
Yeah, because there's so many cool things out there in the world, and it's like, well, sure, I have all these things that I really like to do, and I'm teaching people about them, but like, I also have other hobbies aside from my hobbies.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like, oh, now I want to talk to people about this as well. Maybe there's other people out there that will also like this or didn't even know about it, and you get that out to them.
Right.
So
for sure.
Yeah. And plus, like, you're always extracting information and like skills that's from like different fields. Like photography is gonna, give you a different perspective. Cinematography is gonna give you a different perspective, and then you bring both of those on, and then you attach board games to it, and now you get something else too. So like PC building, I do a lot of PC building too, and then like that brings into the picture too. So it's really cool what you can bring from different fields, and then have it all niche down into one essentially. So
and that's probably for me all of the things that I've done. Like I've done photography, I've done cinematography, I've done some some friends and family's wedding videos.
Awesome.
I've done a lot of different things, but I feel like everything that I'm doing, like I always try to. It builds. For me, it's like everything builds upon itself. And like for what we're doing now, I'm like, okay, how can I use everything else that I have learned and taught myself and make what I'm doing now just the best that it can be. Right.
Right.
And so that's awesome. And so like for tabletop, it's like, we're card gamers. We love card games. But it's also like there's so many different types of games. There's so many different games out there. And it's like, I don't want to not play these games because we like card games.
Just because we prefer one over the other because we've had a long back history with them. It's just like, well, I still like to play these resource management games as well, though, even though there's probably no cards in the game at all.
Right.
So,
So is MTG your main? Like, do you have other ones besides MTG
for card games?
Yeah.
Oh, I've played.
I mostly see Magic the Gathering. That's why.
So so we tend to talk most about it because Dan hasn't played any of the other ones really.
I've played Vanguard.
Yeah, he's dabbled in Vanguard. So I've played Vanguard like when it came out about 10 years ago. Yu-Gi-Oh since 2002.
Awesome! Me too.
Yeah, I started in May 2002. My dad got me the Kaiba the starter deck, and and haven't looked back since. And Pokemon, I started collecting it back in the 90s. No one really knew how to play the game at all back then.
Just collect, right? Exactly. That was me. That's exactly me.
And then fast forward probably like 7 years ago now. Finally learned how to play Pokemon. Got into Force of Will, got into Flesh and Blood more recently, got into Digimon. I have a lot of card games. Oh, and Duel Masters. Can't forget about Duel Masters or Kaijudo.
Okay.
I've played a lot of TCGs in my lifetime.
And so actually how we met was over Magic because for me, I did not have a local game store at the time. I had my a friend or a family member of my wife's over, and he's also a big board gamer. So we're trying to find out like, what games should we get into? And I'm like, you know what? We should get into Magic. Have you ever played Magic? So we went to the local game store, and then I built my first deck. It was a Goblins deck. And then that's how we met, was over Magic. Yeah. And then since then, it's just been honestly like card game after card game. Like I love deck builders now. Now we've got, we're into Ashes Reborn.
Ashes, yes.
Which we haven't even really played that yet,
Rise
but I have
Phoenix
it.
Born.
And I really want to get into that. Expandable card games, living card games like we're playing. Actually, the next video that's going to So what the time of this episode being recorded, we will have released our first Lord of the Rings: The Living Card Game video.
Oh yes.
Oh, I can see back there.
Yeah.
So this is next week's. Yeah.
Yes.
Next week's.
Yeah. So we'll have that Arkham Horror, the card game. There's just so
Marvel Champions.
Marvel Champions, another one.
Where's that?
There, it's up here somewhere.
Oh, it's up at the top.
Yeah,
top corner.
It's up there. So yes, once I found these expandable card games, living card games, I'm like, dude, this is awesome.
Oh yeah,
These are amazing.
man.
Yeah,
I love.
they are.
I like the
stories that you can create in them.
Oh,
are so nice.
I love the concept of expandable card games and living card games as a design versus trading card games and collectible card games. That just appeals to me more, and especially the living card games like Arkham and Marvel Champions and Lord of the Rings, where now there's a narrative infused within the card game itself. Yeah. It's not just competitive in 1v1, which those are great, but from a narrative standpoint, I'm like, dude, this is, to me, I'm like, it's amazing what they can do with just cards.
Yeah.
It's true. There's so many combinations and plays, and it just like the replayability is just like
it's ridiculous.
Yes. And that's why I like deck builders too, because like with a basic deck building game. Like I played a DC deck builder again yesterday with our foreign exchange student Peter. He had never played it before, and I'm like, so Peter, what'd you think? He's like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm like, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
We played like 3 games, and you don't have every single game is completely different. You know, you play a different character. It's a completely different experience. Oh, yeah. The experiences are just so different from game to game, and I love it. Like I never have a bad time playing any of these card games.
Yeah. I mean, we just had our very crazy DC deck builder game.
Never had a game that close.
That was close.
Yeah. So Tim, what kind of games do you like? Do you have a genre that you tend to maybe not necessarily stick towards, but prefer?
Lean towards.
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's definitely changed. So I moved into a new place recently, and then in that move, I downsized a lot. I got rid of like 35 games, and I'm starting to think about my games way more critically now because I'm looking at all my shelves, and I'm like, a lot of these I don't actually like. So I'm starting to realize that I think worker placement is my go-to.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Resource management.
Yeah.
Kind of like all out. They call it like dudes on a map. Like I really love those kind of games too. So I think those are my 3, I guess, main genres.
Is that why I saw in your story today? I think it was that you were doing this new series that you're trying to find a name for.
Exactly. I'm like, Judgment Day, and then I need to post the answers to that. People have some really creative answers too. It's really funny.
Oh, I'll be interested to hear what those are because I like the Judgment Day idea. So I'll be interested to hear what some of these other ideas are for sure. Those should
I'll
be
post
nice.
it later for sure. But the idea behind that is just like, so I'm gonna dive into 3 games, do individual reviews, and give them the full display and showcase, and then afterwards put them on a chopping block and see which one goes and which one stays. So,
how are you gonna come up with which one stays and which one goes? Just mostly on like what you prefer, which one you prefer?
Yeah, okay. Just based on preference. Okay. That's all.
Okay. How many times he's won versus other people in the game?
That is valid.
Actually, so going off of that, I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were actually talking about Earthborn Rangers. Are you familiar with the
Oh yeah, I heard
Earthborn?
About the campaign. Yeah.
Okay, so I love the concept.
Oh yeah.
I love the concept of this game, Earthborn Rangers. But one very interesting thing that they were kind of talking about, I believe he's clarified the position. I'm not totally sure what it is, but essentially what they were saying is it's mostly about the experience and taking on a role-playing game from a card game perspective, right? And so what they said was there's not really going to be winning and losing. It's more about the experience, right? And so it brings up an interesting conversation, like the podcast I was listening to, they entitled it as "What's the Point?" Like, what if there is no winning and losing? Really, what is the point? And we've been talking, right? We've been talking on our podcast ever since we started. one thing that Jim brings up all the time is the experiences that we have with other people around the table. That's really, really why we're doing this is you know, having people like you on and having these conversations is getting people around the table and to enjoy these experiences. There is a time for winning and losing. I mean, there's always going to be winners. There's always going to be losers, I feel like. But I feel like what we want to try and focus on is the people that we're going on these journeys, having these experiences with, and you know, enjoying each other's company, right? And so, and I think where that starts is each individual's mindset, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So you are familiar with Earthborn a little bit, right?
A little bit. I think the reason why I didn't dive into it more is because it's a cooperative game. And then when you mentioned that like there's no end goal, I think I'm like halfway. Like I want to meet halfway at that point because for me, I genuinely don't care about winning and losing. I'm very competitive, but when it comes to like game night, I like literally am just enjoying that experience, which is exactly what you said. Yeah. Because like it's very hard to get people together nowadays. Yeah. So like when I get my friends together, I get my fiance to get time to play, like that's all I care about ultimately. Yeah. But I know how they are, and I know they always want some kind of end goal. Yes. Winning and losing, I think, is the easiest one to find. Sure. But I think there definitely can be some kind of outcome if Earthborn Rangers decides to implement that. I think that's the one thing they might be missing from hearing this preliminary, discussion about it.
And that's why I'm interested to dive a little bit more into it and kind of really see. I'm very interested just to follow along because I backed it 100%. I was all in because I'm really intrigued by the concept and it's
a beautiful game too.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure.
100%, yeah. And also, it's a card game, right?
Yeah. I was going to say...
New card game? Yes.
And the thing about it is, so I also play a lot of D&D, right?
Yes.
And there are so many times where some of the best stories we've had in the game is just sitting in the town, like going around talking to random people, buying stuff, getting into random bar fights, and we don't actually progress the story or the campaign at all. But it's every single person had fun, whether it's they did something amazing or got really unlucky, but something hilarious still happened to them, and then we got to go rescue them. So, so I'm
that's
already
true.
like
that's
used to
about,
it. Yeah.
So
that's
do you
talk about the experiences?
Have you played D&D at all?
No, but I've always been interested in it. I always watch videos about it. Viva La Dirt League, I always watch their playthroughs of their D&D series.
Yeah, I've played one time. And we actually talked about it on one episode of the podcast where I don't even know which one it was, but I played it once and it was fun. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. But, for something like D&D, it's you got to have the people who are willing to invest the time and the energy to make characters, and there's a lot that goes into it for sure.
And even with D&D, there are people in there that are like, "Oh, I want to win." Well, it's like, well, is there really winning?
Losing.
Like, kind of, but like, and sure, that person might have problems with, whatever people are in the party. Yeah. So like you're saying, the mindset really matters. But for D&D, it tends to be like, well, you're not really winning or losing. You just have these stories.
Yeah, for sure.
So what would conclude your sessions then? What would be like the end point?
Mostly, it could either be, there is definitely winning a fight, or it's like
an encounter.
Yeah, or an encounter, or something bad happens in the town that your party was kind of around that area. They could have been caught. They're thrown in jail because, they fail all their saves and talking to them and the evidence against them just really stacked up, not against them. And so it could just be, well, at the end of the session, everyone is in jail. What are you guys going to do? Or it could be like, all right, everyone's in jail, do whatever stuff you want for the time being. And then when I tell you, the king's going to come out, put you guys on trial, and then he could say, off with their heads. Yeah. Now what are you? So then you end the session, and everyone's like, "What are we gonna do for next week?"
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time it's really up to the DM, the person who's essentially telling a story. So what story are you gonna tell? Yeah, and how are you gonna conclude it? Basically,
or it could be, well, we just killed a green dragon.
Yeah.
cut the campaign right there,
yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Or you're about to meet a green dragon. Cut the campaign.
Yeah.
You know. So like
Cliffhanger.
That's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
so there is winning and losing,
Yeah.
you know, but it really also comes down, is it a combat campaign? Is it RP? Is it exploration? Like, what is it that they're really looking for?
Yeah.
So
I see.
So Tim, there's two kind of other questions that I want to be asking anybody who comes on the show, and the first is: are there what content creators are out there right now that you've been following recently that you're just like, man, you know, I love what they're doing, and you kind of want to highlight? Is there anybody out there that you can think of right now that's doing some really good work?
$20 if you say us. $20.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like if it's a self thing, for sure. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. Like to just start out the gates like sprinting and then having this. I think the level of editing that you guys have now took me like years to get to, which is like really cool. So I definitely appreciate what you guys are doing.
It took me years to get here too, because that's kind of what we were talking.
That's not what it looks like. Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. Like everything that we've been doing, it's like for me, and I've had this conversation with my wife a lot. Is I really feel like every experience or thing that I've gone through has just built up, right up till now. It's like culminating, and like everything that I'm learning, I'm putting into practice. So I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah. For sure. And then of course like the 6 content creators that you saw in the video, I probably would have mentioned like all of them, because like I extract every like information from them all the time, and they're all so fun to watch. So definitely those 6.
Yeah, and I love all of those 6. All right, let's see if I can even remember. We got Our Family
5,
Plays Games.
Actually, 5.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Our Family Plays Games, Lord of the Board. We've got Quackalope. We've got Board Game Co. And there's one other one, right? Who am I missing?
Who are you missing?
I don't have other than you, Tim.
Before you play.
There we go. Before you play, that's who it was. Yeah, Monique, and man, there we go.
Yeah, their playthroughs are really fun to watch.
They really are, and they're another one where like I go back to their first video, and then you go back to see where they're at now. It's like, it's amazing the progression that. That's one of the things I love about YouTube is, and anytime you find a new creator, let's go back to your first video.
Yeah, it's true to see what you did.
See what you did, and it's really, really great. It's awesome to see.
And so many creators always hate to go back and hear about their old videos or go look at it. It's like, oh God, please.
Me too. I can't stand watching them. I'm like, oh God. I like to throw up watching my own videos. Yeah. It's just... makes me nauseous.
Yeah. But one of the things I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think. But are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V?
I don't think so.
So he's an entrepreneur. After this, definitely go check him out. He's a very motivating guy. I'll be sure to send you. I'll be sure to send you his links. But he's been putting out content for a long time. He recently met a guy who got turned on to his content and has been consuming it. And one of the things that he was like, man, I finally get it. Because he's an older gentleman, and he's like, now that I'm doing this, like I'm leaving a legacy. I'm leaving behind something for my kids and my family to just consume all this content. Like if I'm not around, they've got all this stuff of these videos of me, that they can watch. And I'm like, it's a side benefit. I think it's a side benefit, and it's really cool to think about because I've got kids, and I'm like, there will be a day when I'm not here, and my content will be, and it's like for me, I'm like, man, I got to make sure I'm, what am I leaving behind? Like
I never thought about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about for sure. Okay, all right. So one of the things that I want to be sure I'm asking everybody. All right, here we go. All right, if you had one game and you could only play one game for the rest of your life, limit you to one game, what would it be?
Oh, that's such a hard question.
I know.
It's easier for some people.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is because especially for me, like I always need flexibility and like expanding out as you become on board games and stuff.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, currently it would probably be Dwellings of Eldervale.
Okay.
100%.
So
you guys need to try that game.
Why should we play that game?
So it's not fully a card game, but there are cards being used. However, you have a ton of different factions to choose from.
Okay.
And it's an epic scale of a game where there's just so many different mechanics involved. There's worker placement, there's resource management, there's combat. Combat is like really interesting in that game. It's not just rolling dice, but there are different resources involved. I think what's really important about that too is that the loser doesn't feel like they're actually losing. You can still feel like you can come back from it. Because a lot of battle board games, like when you lose a fight, sometimes it's so detrimental to the point where you don't even want to play anymore because you feel like you're kind of stuck at a wall. There's not really a way for you to come back from that fight.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really didn't like either. But Dwellings of Eldervale does that really well. It feels very balanced. There's monsters involved. It's an epic scale of a game, and I love that game. It's so good. I played it so many times.
Okay, we'll have to.
What is it called again? Dwellings of
Eldervale.
Dwellings of Eldervale.
Okay.
I think you guys would really like that one. It's so
Probably.
good.
We'll have to look into that for sure. For sure. So what was the first game that you played? What was the first board game, card game, like tabletop? First tabletop game that you played?
Well, I think it was Catan. Actually, it might have been Catan or like Betrayal. On House of the Hill.
Yeah,
that
that's a good one.
Betrayal.
It's not a
Both
good
of
one.
those are
Yeah,
good
both
ones.
those are good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
seems
it's probably those two.
It seems like a lot of people at Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
Which is never a
I
bad
know. I wish I
thing.
wasn't, but I was like, that's my history. It's like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. That's like the man. What's the word? It's the game that gets so many people into tabletop.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a really big gateway game.
That's what I was looking for. Gateway. Yeah, and and it's an awesome game. It's crazy. The interesting thing, I've only ever played the base game of that. I've only ever played the base game of Catan.
Yeah.
Have you
It
played?
gets better.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Have you played? Have you played a bunch of the expansions?
Yeah, I think the Seafarers expansion I played, and a couple other ones that they had. I forget what they were at the time, but I had most of the expansions. It would be interesting though to see like a board gamer who didn't play Catan. Like they have this full knowledge of like all these board games, but they've never played Catan before. I would love to see their first experience playing that game.
Yeah.
I want to know if they hate it or they love it.
Yeah.
You know, I actually know someone. So they have played Catan.
Okay.
Right? But the thing is, they are a huge Ticket to Ride fan, right? But absolutely hate Catan.
Really?
I'm like, but they're so similar.
They are.
Yeah.
They're ridiculously similar. But he was just like, no, I refuse to play it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was really strange to me because I played Ticket to Ride with him a few times. I'm like, oh, hey, you want to play this? He's like, no. I'm
Wow,
like,
that's
okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that.
Wow.
And he
What
did
was your first?
He did go to Grapple as well.
What was your first, Jim?
Oh, my first board game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty Princess. I was about 2 or 3, I forget exactly. It was at my aunt's house. We were in her we were in the living room. And it was me and my sister playing.
It's over here somewhere.
Yeah.
I have it over here.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
I specifically bought it for my okay.
He specifically bought it for me.
Yes.
You guys should do a playthrough of that. That'd be fun.
On a side note, I have a daughter and like, okay, well, this is for you, but it's really for Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My childhood coming back.
And the first time that we played it, of course, I won.
Yeah.
I
It'd
mean,
be
of
like
course.
that.
Yeah. Like, do I have to say this? Do I really have to say? Okay, yeah, I do. That's all right. Sorry, we had fun.
Yeah.
That game was fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. Just stealing people's jewelry from them is a nice little twist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
What was your first?
okay. I think it was Catan. And actually, it was funny. It was funny because I remember. So I was in college. I was in college, and so when I was in college, I played soccer, and I go to college for preseason, and I see these. Okay. I see these nerds playing Catan. I can say it because I know I'm a nerd. It's okay. I'm a big nerd. And so I'm like, what in the world are these guys playing? It looks really I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this looks really dumb. Not knowing what it is at the time. And then years later, I see the game being played and I'm like, oh, this looks very, very familiar. I remember this back in college. And the people playing it, Yeah, I remember it. And so I sat down to play, and I'm like, okay, now I get why people are playing this, because it's awesome.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it was Catan, and I don't remember who won. I just remember I had a blast. And I'm trying to think so strategically as I'm playing, because I'm also like super competitive. And I've calmed down. I've calmed down quite a bit.
Yeah. Since we've been playing a lot more games,
I've calmed down.
Dan's lost a lot of games against me.
He's not wrong.
So he just got used to it. Really.
I got used to losing. I got used to losing. But honestly, like, I don't even care anymore, because I'm just like, I just want to have fun.
Exactly.
Like, I just want to have fun, and and if I'm in a competitive environment, then we even talked about, it's like, I'm just gonna worry about having fun and try to win. But if I don't win, it's okay.
So I've noticed when I'm around people that want to be competitive in the game, and I'm just here to have a good time, I just want to, like, not so much screw them over specifically, but kind of screw them over specifically. Because then it's like, well, they get that more competitive feeling that they are looking after, and I'm just enjoying myself, And so, just fun all around. Yeah. Fun all around.
Yeah. So for me it was Catan. So I'm gonna ask. I'm curious if you're. I would assume so, since you've been posting about this. Rolling Realms. Are you allowed to talk about that at all? Your experience, at least your experiences with photographing it.
Yeah. So the only thing I can't do is give an opinion on it at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically, it is a card game. It's a roll and write from Stonemeyer Games, and they have a card for every single realm. Pretty much all the board games, and that you can kind of visit and play through with, I think up to 6 players.
Wow.
Really? Interesting. It's funny because I saw
I'm interested.
Well, I think I saw some of your pictures that I think you posted, and I think Jamie Stegmeyer posted them as well. And I'm seeing the cards, and I'm like, why is Scythe on a card? I was like so confused. But it looks very interesting. Had you worked with Stonemeyer before this project at all?
Yes. So right now I'm their product photographer. I usually been taking photos for them. I think for the past few games I've done, like Scythe, Wingspan. We're kind of going through like their backlog of photos. I think it started around last year. Yeah.
That's awesome. So here, I want to show you something. So I've been going through some of your videos, because for me, what I'm trying to do is, from a content creator standpoint, I want to produce content, like as not just video. I love taking pictures, so I'm trying to post photos. I'm trying to post a photo a day at minimum. And so I'm going through some of your videos where you give your advice and opinions, which they're awesome videos. And I just got. I never heard this before. I bought this bad boy specifically because of those towers, and I'm like, that is perfect. That's exactly what I need.
Yeah, it's so funny. There have been some people that talk about it.
Yeah, I haven't used them yet because I haven't had the opportunity. But I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get them because I know I need something. Because I'm like been trying to stand up cards, and I'm like, how can I stand these guys up to get some good?
It's funny. It's funny because like so many people have asked that too. Like, how do you stand up your cards? And I finally just talked about it, and they're like, "Oh my god, Santorini sales are gonna go up the roof." And then so many people message me about, "Hey, I got Santorini. Hey, I got Santorini." It's like, yes, marketing for them for free, but it's fine.
So if you're a photographer or you want to take pictures of cards and you want to stand them up, get Santorini. Get this right here. And it's funny because I've actually never played the game before. But I've seen it. I've seen it, and I've never played it. So now that we have it, I'm like, we might as well play it.
Might as well. It's fun. It's a quick, light game. There's some like chess mechanics involved, but it's fun because all the 3D elements involved. But those buildings are literally perfect for cards. I actually have a bag of them in my backpack. I carry around everywhere for product photography. So that's an essential. Yeah, it's an essential.
So I'm curious. So from a photographer standpoint, what do you shoot? Do you shoot Canon?
Yes, I shoot Canon. Right now I'm shooting the R5 with R5.
Okay. How is the R5? I've heard good things about it.
It's insane. It's so good. I've never used the camera. So before this, I had the 1DX Mark II professionally for like engagements and portraits and stuff. And then I made the switch over to the R5. And actually sold pretty much everything and went full mirrorless because I think the thing I value the most as a photographer is speed. Like I can't stand it when you miss a shot. Like that kills me like to the bone. I can't deal. The R5 is lightning fast. I thought the 1DX was really fast, but my God, the R5, the quality, the speed, like I don't have anything to complain about it on the photographer standpoint.
Yeah.
On the video standpoint, it overheats.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks. But I mean, it has to have some kind of drawback. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, especially for like nature shots where you don't know how long something's going to be there for, like having that just even half a second faster, or whatever it is, can be pretty crucial.
Yeah, shooting birds, shooting my dog. Yeah, all those little milliseconds count. Or like when they're, when you're at an engagement shoot and they're kind of just being themselves. You don't want to miss a moment like that. And I've missed moments before, and it just
it's a bad feeling. It's a feels bad for sure. It really is. I know what he's talking about. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So man.
Are you shooting Canon or are you shooting?
No, so I shoot Sony. Now. I used to shoot Nikon. And when we were getting into starting doing content, I've got a Sony A7R III that I've had for about a year now. And so my wife's family, we're big Disney people, right? I mean, doing villainous stuff, surprise, surprise. So, we go to Disney probably every few years. And so I love taking pictures of when I go to Disney. It's not about to having fun with the family. It's about taking pictures.
Yes, that is the reason why.
That's what I enjoy doing. Honestly, in the nighttime, if everybody else is doing their own thing, I'm like, I'm gonna go over here and I've got some pictures that I want to take. So I'll see you guys in a little bit.
I love that.
So the last time I went, I got a shot of Rise of the Resistance, which was one of my favorite shots. So yeah, that's
I want to see that.
I'll send you one. I'll send you a shot for sure. But that's what I enjoy doing. So it's shot. So I used to shoot Nikon, and I was shooting Nikon crop sensor before. And then when we upgraded to Sony, I sold everything and got into Sony. And so when we started, I'm like, all right, Jim, I've got all this Sony stuff. So we might as well just get a couple of more Sony bodies.
Which we did.
Yes.
And so we're all Sony, and I love Sony. And
Sony's great, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And when I haven't done this yet, but I'm more the photography nerd, the video guy. I'm wanting to, and I need to pass along this knowledge to him because you're not really into.
No,
video.
I understand the word aperture. Like I know that it is a word. I might not know how to correct it if that's a thing. Yeah, making that look better. Yeah. That's all I got.
But for me, like I love learning, right? And so I have all this knowledge here that I'm like, all right, now that I'm working with Jim, let's just pass all this knowledge into somebody else to, and there's no better feeling for me than just learning something new. Yeah. Right. So if I'm able to pass that along to somebody, in this case, Jim, then, I love it. I think it's great. So So Sony's great. I love it. But yeah. How long?
I think inevitably.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I think inevitably, Jim's probably going to end up taking the reins somewhere too. It's going to be fun to watch.
I'm okay with that. I'd be like, dude, go right ahead.
Then I'll be like, all right, take these pictures. I'm like, all right, give me Santorini. that's also what I remember. Give me some of those buildings.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So here with the pandemic last year, we had last week we interviewed Kelly, Geek Chick Gamer, and I found it so fascinating. There's a lot of content creators on Instagram, especially that really got into this early 2020 and have amassed such large followings, and it's amazing to me, like how they've been able to be so successful in such a short amount of time. I don't think it's I don't think it's because of the pandemic. I think the pandemic probably helped a little bit because I like to think it's more because of the creative people in general, right? It's their creative chops that have gotten them to where they've gotten. From a community standpoint, how have you seen the tabletop community grow even in like a year's time or a year and a half's time?
Yeah. I think since you bring up Instagram definitely was like the one for me that I think exploded over the past year or two. Because when I started, there was no one taking board game photos at all.
Yeah.
And then whatever happened between 2019 and 2020, people just really loved it. And then now you see nothing but thematic photos of board games, which is like what I wanted from the beginning. Which is really cool.
Yes.
And then you see everyone taking pictures like outside or when they can at least. And then even like at home, you see them staging photos with like different themes and different props. And it's so cool to see everyone just elevating the board game hobby. That's a dream come true. So cool.
There's somebody that you shouted out recently, and I'm trying to find who it was. I think I'm trying. Give me 1 second because they take amazing pictures.
Sons of Thunder Games.
There we go. That's who it was. I found their feed and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. And I think other people are doing something similar, but like they take the cards, right? And they like Lord of the Rings. I think they've done some Lord of the Rings ones. Like I think so too, yeah. They took one of Aragorn, right? Ooh. And they put him like outside, right, around like a tree or something. Like it's amazing. Like I'm going through their feed, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like they're just one creator who I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like I take a card, throw it down on the table. I got a wood background and it's cool. And I think it's cool. Like, and it's a good picture, sure. But then I see somebody like Sons of Thunder Games. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And then you're just continually elevating just the tabletop space. And it's just, it's amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, soon that's going to be, I hope it's going to be like its own niche in terms of like who you're booking for like thematic photos. Because when we say product photography, like outside of board games, they have all those themes already. Like when you take pictures of shoes and stuff, like they're all themed around like different things. Like if, Nike comes out with a gardening theme, you're going to see it around like plants and stuff. I don't know. But like you get the point. And then like from here, like from the board game standpoint, when we say product photography, it's only with the solid background. But then hopefully later it will be like with all the themes and stuff too. So
yeah. It's have you seen stuff like that? Because like in product photography, he's right. Like you just see here, we've got a backdrop. We'll pull it out, and it's a solid color.
I was gonna say probably. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it, but like really thought about it. Yeah. Probably not, because I'm not so much like in that world. So, but I mean, I'm sure I have.
But like it'll be interesting to see if it gets to the point to where it's not even thought about anymore. Like it's the industry standard or the industry norm.
Oh, I can't wait for that day.
Right. That's what's going to be crazy. Like that'll be really, really, really cool.
Man, I'm going to feel bad for people when they have to start taking cards out in the snow. Be like, yeah, it's winter theme. Snow's
people
everywhere.
Have done that.
The card's wet. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Never mind.
You better make sure they double sleeve it.
Double sleeve it.
I know, like cards are wet and stuff. And then I've burned miniatures. I've like lost them to the ocean.
Man.
Yeah, but it was worth it for the photo. At least to have a memory of it. At least have a memory.
He had the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Forget that goal. Whatever happens to it, happens.
You definitely lost, though. You lost whatever.
Especially when you're trying to play the game again and you're missing that statue from Lords of Hellas that you wish you didn't lose to the ocean.
Where's that one piece at? Bermuda Triangle?
Long Beach.
Probably.
You did a video on that, I think, didn't it? Where you talked about losing a miniature, I think.
I've lost a lot. I've lost a lot of stuff. I think my worst one was probably Fireball Island. Ooh. You heard about that one? It was a classic game, and then they remade it recently.
Yes.
So it's like a huge volcano island. It's like a big, plastic thing with like marbles and stuff. Yeah. I put it really close to the beach, to like the waves.
Okay.
And at the time, I didn't think about like the tidal waves and how like tide just creeps up on you. Yeah. So I'm over here enjoying sunset, like, oh wow, these photos are gonna be so cool. I can't wait to post these on Instagram. And then like split second later, the wave just comes up, washes literally everything away, and then all the marbles sink into the sand, so you can't like run for it. And I think the only thing I grabbed was Volcar, which was like the big giant standee. The only thing I could pretty much see. Yeah. That's it. That's all I got. So.
Man, I was honestly going to think like, was that the piece that was missing? Because that is the important piece.
I lost a lot of marbles, but not Volcar. So.
Yeah, marbles can be replaced.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that thanks a lot, Tim. That was awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the show and just having a good chat and getting to know you a little bit more. So, thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on here. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to come up with in the next few weeks, few years, and just to see where you guys go.
Thank you. So Tim, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at Tim Chuon.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again. And Tim, we'll be sure to, hopefully we'll have you on the show again down the line. And we can't wait to see where you take your channel and your content from here. So thanks a lot, man. All right. So thanks again, Tim. That was a great conversation. That was a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying just getting to meet and just talk to all these people in the tabletop community. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really a great time, you know? Mm-hmm. So we've got two people down, I feel like, and it's like I've got this people down.
We made two friends along the way.
There we go. Along
our journey.
That is a much better
and everyone
way
else's journey here. We got two down. Next on the list. Be ready.
Now, we do have a list of people that we actually do want to sit down with, and I feel like I'm just adding to that list every day. So it was a really great time to sit down and talk to Tim. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Tim. That was a lot of fun. So, so Jim, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jim Morgan, HNH.
You can find me on Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell and on Twitter at _DG_Campbell. So that's all we got for you this week. And next week, who knows? I think maybe we will sit down with another friend from. We'll make some more friends.
That'd
so how about
great.
that? All right. So thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll see you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care, guys.